Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It's been a hot second since I've checked in, but today I wanted to go over all of the books that I read in May. Is that what month we were on? Hard to keep track. Yes, it was May for May the Force Read With You. I'm also going to discuss how I did on the prompts for the May the Force Read With You Readathon and discuss how I got through those. As you can see, here is my checklist and here's the orange. Anything orange I did complete. I did move some things around. I unexpectedly got some library books in that I wasn't anticipating, and that kind of shifted my TBR a little bit, and then also just my mood in general as far as reading shifted my TBR a little bit. So we're gonna go over what I made my TBR and how I read this month. So first of all, we're gonna go with Jedi Mind Trick. That was for the book with a reflection on the cover, or a reflective cover. I did have a Feather So Black, I think is what it was called. I didn't get to that one, but I did read Cinderella is Dead, and it has like a reflective cover. I don't know if you can see how it's kind of shinier, and then also the title lettering is kind of iridescent, so I counted that as a reflective cover. This is kind of a twist on Cinderella. I'm sure you could tell by Cinderella is Dead. It is a sapphic twist on Cinderella in a, like, I don't want to say contemporary, but more of a contemporary YA fantasy sort of realm. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I don't anticipate ever reading it again. But it was, again, enjoyable for that read. And then, as you guys probably saw in my reading vlog, I read and finished one of the other books that was on my TBR, which we'll get to later on, to get to this prompt, which is to read a book in a different genre. So the book I read was a fantasy, and then this one was for Transfer Force, and that was the Balance of the Force Star Wars High Republic graphic novel. So this one was fantasy, this one is sci-fi. A lot of people might consider those the same genre, but to me they're different, so that is a different prompt. And stay tuned. A lot of you commented that you really want to see the timeline kind of spaced out in a video of how to read the Star Wars universe, so stay tuned for that. I will probably be doing it in chunks, probably starting with the High Republic because that's what I've read and I can confidently share that knowledge, and then as I read through the universe I'll keep going, but we'll start with the High Republic, so stay tuned for that video. This is part of it. Then for telekinesis is to read a book with a hand on the cover, and this is actually one that stayed in tune with the TBR, and that is Battle of Jeddah. As you can see, there's a hand holding the lightsaber. This was a reread for me. It is the audiobook script because this is primarily an audiobook. It is a audio dramatization, I think is the word, where it has the background effects and noises and everything going on. So it is a really good time to read. I highly recommend reading any Star Wars book in audiobook because it does add that extra level with the like blaster sounds and the lightsaber whoom. Obviously I am not a Foley artist, but yeah, the Battle of Jeddah was a lot of good times. Well, not for the characters, but you get what I'm saying. Then was Force Healing, and that was to read a book with cozy vibes. I originally had City of Stardust on the TBR, but this book came into the library as a hold unexpectedly. I'd put a hold on it because I want to read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, but before I did that I wanted to reread Caraval. So Caraval book 1 came in and I reread that. So that is what I used for Force Healing, or a comfort read, because Caraval is a comfort read. If you aren't aware of the story of Caraval, we are following two sisters, Scarlett and Tella, who have always dreamed of going to this fantasy circusy challenge game called Caraval, and they get sent tickets, and I actually don't want to get too into the details because it might be slightly a spoiler, but it is a lot of fun. It's a fantasy mystery romance and it's a really good time. Next was a doppelganger, or to read a book with two of the same thing on the cover. I originally had Serpent in the Wings of Night. I have read some of that. I'm about halfway through the book, but I didn't finish it. So I'm going to use this one, which is Battle for the Forest, the graphic novel, because there's twins on the cover. What's better for the prompt of doppelganger than twins? So that is what that one was going to be, and I did read this. Obviously, I love the graphic novels and being able to visualize the characters as well. That's why I really enjoyed reading through the High Republic Encyclopedia, as following along with, as I finished a book, I would go in and read the encyclopedia. Unfortunately, they don't have visuals or images for every single character, which I would really appreciate, but it gets done what it needs to get done. Next, we needed to collect our companions so that we could be considered a caring / beloved moniker. So there are 3 companions who needed to gather: Vulpix, which is to read a book with ice or snow on the cover, Fathier, which is to read a book with someone unhappy on the cover, and Porg, which is to read a book with a round object on the cover. So for Vulpix, which was the ice, I read The Path of Deceit, and as you can see, there are snow ice covered mountains in the background of this book. This is probably my favorite book of phase 2 of the High Republic. I really enjoy the getting into the nitty-gritty of relationships of the Jedi, and also learning more about the villain per se and their perspective on things. I think it really just highlights what the Jedi are doing and what their perspective is as well. So I really love this one. I love when people can have arguments and both sides are open-minded and you can really see like all sides of things. I think it's a very healthy way to have a conversation, so I loved seeing both sides because it did open my mind to the reasons behind both sides. Then for Fathier, with someone unhappy on the cover, I read The Blade, and this was a reread for me as well. We are learning more about the Bashar, I forget what it's called, but when a Jedi decides to step away from the Order and just spend time in the Force when they feel like they have done something wrong or been disconnected. And then it also talks about Porter Ingle, who is a very talked about character in the later phases, or later chronologically technically. So it was fun to get that backstory and learn more about them. And then for the round object on the cover for Porg, I read Icebreaker. I really expected to enjoy this one, and I just really was not getting into it. It was one of my least favorite books of the month, unfortunately. I think for me it was too much on the physical scenes, if you know what I'm saying. It felt, I don't mind one every once in a while, but it felt like it was every other scene it was happening, and I was like, can we have some plot here? I know that some people really enjoy that, so if you're into that, highly recommend Icebreaker. But if you like a little more plot development, I guess, this might not be the book for you. And then I also collected a droid as a companion, and that was to read a book with advanced technology. I read The Principle of Moments. This one took me forever to get through, but I did enjoy it. It has a lot of time travel elements, which I'm not normally into, but I think that they handled it pretty well. And it's almost King Arthur-esque retelling, but not really. It's following this world in which there's a prophecy that 3 people will be dropped and chosen from time to fight this larger evil. One is a shield, one is a sword, one is a crown, and we're learning who's who and their journey in discovering who they are. So it was pretty interesting, but not my favorite book of all time. Oh, my foot's falling asleep. Ah. The struggles of adulthood. Okay, I wasn't able to read a book that had a number or animal in the title, nor a book that was published in the same date as my birth month, so I did not unfortunately collect the Millennium Falcon or join the Rebel Alliance, but I did get a lightsaber, which is to read a book where the title color and the author color were different. So I read the breakup tour for this. This is very, very heavily Taylor Swift coded. So if you enjoy Taylor Swift, I recommend reading this just for the fun of it. Not the most groundbreaking book of all time, but it was enjoyable for the read. And then I also was not able to become a swordmaster because I did not complete a book over 650 pages. But those are the books that I read for the May the Force Read With You readathon. I was a human Jedi with my abilities Jedi Mind Trick, Transfer Force, Telekinesis, and Force Healing, and Doppelganger. And then I also collected companions of a Vulptix, a droid, a Fathier, and a Porg. And then I'm also known as Caring and Beloved. So overall, I think I did pretty well at the readathon here. Other than those, I also read the High Republic Adventures Volume 1. This one is following a young Padawan who also wants to be a pirate, which is such a fun concept, and we get to learn more about Maz and her crew. So I really enjoyed reading this one because it's space pirates. And then I also read, these were ones that came in through the library that I wasn't anticipating coming in as early as they did. A Deal with the Elf King and A Dance with the Fae Prince. So I also got to add those to my tally of books I read this month. Not a ton was read this month. I actually hit a really heavy slump towards the end of the month. I think I was trying to read too many nonfiction at the same time. One I borrowed from my friend, one I was reading for, well actually two I was reading for church, and then I had like 3 or 4 come in for review. So I think I just overwhelmed myself with nonfiction and got like really slumped out. So I'm trying to do better about spacing those out now and only doing one a month. So best of luck for June. We just hit June 9th it is, and I just finished my first book last night. So not a great start, but that is what it is. It is how the seasons roll and how hobbies kind of progress as the year goes on. But that is all I have to say for now. So let me know what you guys read in May down below. If you participated in the May the Force Read With You readathon, let me know what you were able to achieve. And that is all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll check you in my next one. Bye friends.